May 1st, Wednesday, 2024. This is the West Hartford Public Safety Committee meeting. The committee meeting will be available for live viewing on the WHCI YouTube channel. This is a virtual meeting. And Jerida, we ready to go?
Good morning. Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll call the meeting to order. It's about 8:06, and I will recognize everyone around the virtual screen this morning. We have our town manager, Rick Ledwith. We have Chief Riddick. We have Chief Priest and Deputy Chief Munsell, and the team behind them that I can always hardly see. So it looks like emergency manager Bob McHugh and some other folk, and I apologize. I recognize you all, it's three of you. I just can't see your faces clearly. Counselor McGinnis, let's see, Deputy Mayor Winograd, Counselor Alberto Cortez, Assistant Chief Riccabon, Assistant Chief Tara, Fire Marshal Assistant Chief Robert Grimaldi, and we also have Sarah. It looks like we also have Counselor Fay, and of course, Jerida, who keeps us on the technical arrow, straight and narrow path. Anybody that I don't see or forgot? All right. All right. So before I actually get to our agenda items, I just want to ask for a pause, a moment of silence, just to recognize our law enforcement officers that lost their life in the line of duty in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, what you all do every single day is such a tough job. I know you all sign up for this, but when you're performing your job and your work, you never know what you're going to meet on that other side of the door. So if we can just take a moment to remember your fellow officers, their families. I believe it was 4 officers. I believe it was 3 marshals, 1 police officer, all have families and wives. And so unfortunate that those children will grow up without their dad and the spouses will become widows. My heart and prayers go out to those families. So if we could just take a moment, please. Thank you. Okay. So the first business item we have on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from April 3rd. I would ask for a motion to receive those minutes with the necessary corrections.
Moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, minutes approved. The next item we have is communications. So I will turn it over to you, Mr. Ledwith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. Great to see everyone. I just wanted to quickly say on behalf of our entire Public Safety Committee team, we want to thank you, Madam Chair, as well as the entire council for your support during the most recent budget process. Your continued support will allow us to meet the public safety needs of our town and allow us to continue to deliver the highest level of public safety services our residents deserve and certainly expect. I also want to just quickly acknowledge, and I know the chief will get into this in his report, but our entire fire department, all of whom I think every single one has been involved in a fire incident over the last 8 weeks. I think we had a total of 7 fires town-wide, if my numbers are correct. And so I just wanted to extend my gratitude to the entire department. And, you know, as I think you've heard me say often, our police and fire department are always there when we need them the most. And that rings true in so many different ways. None more so than on April 5th, when our mayor declared that day as Howard's Day. Howard Mayton was a third grader at Wolcott who was critically ill. And his family knew that Friday before April break would be his last day at school. And Make-A-Wish had reached out to Wolcott and to us the day before to see what we could do to make that that day special for Howard and his family. And as we know, Wolcott had a wonderful ceremony for Howard on that last Friday before the break. And then our police and fire department, and they were joined by other local agencies as well, provided Howard and his family with an escort home from Wolcott directly to his house on South Main. And as we know, Howard passed over that April break. But I'm very grateful to our Wolcott School colleagues, as well as our police and fire department, for making this day very special for Howard and his family. And I hope one day his family can look back on those memories of that day and take solace and how special it was for Howard and for his entire family. So that is it for me under communications, Madam Chair. I'm happy to turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledwith. And I too saw, I read up a little bit about Howard, so I'm grateful to you, Mr. Town Manager, and the entire team that we were able to participate in something that would be so significant for the family, also for the school and the entire community. So just thank you for being inclusive and being sensitive to the family's needs at this time. All right, the next item on the agenda is staff reports, and I believe Chief Priest, you and your team are up first.
Good morning, Madam Chair, everyone around the virtual table this morning. Thank you for those recognitions of the Maytan event, as well for our budget, and also for Chief Riddick. There's no secret. The chief and I have a great relationship. We go back and forth, but the loss of one police officer is incomprehensible. To lose four, our thoughts from the fire department are with our law enforcement colleagues as they go through that. So Chief, good luck to you and your personnel moving through these next couple of weeks. Truly, all joking aside, thoughts are with you. Mr. Manager, again, thank you very much for introducing the amount of fire activity that we've had over the last couple of weeks, or actually the last 2 months. My written report actually does discuss, goes back all the way to May, because you had to listen to my budget hearing last. You didn't get a chance to hear me talk about the other incidents. So we do have quite an amount of fire activity. And as you've heard me discuss in my annual reports, when I'm delivering the amount of fires we have, right, there's a difference between, we don't differentiate big structure fires from little structure fires. They all are classified into the category of structure fires. So when we ran our reports, we had 17 structure fires over the last 2 months. They were varying size and intensity. Obviously, that could be something as food on the stove that extends to cabinets that's classified as a structure fire. Obviously, some of the larger incidents that have received a lot of attention as well, or that are included in my report. Just as I focus on those structure fires for 1 second, I'm very pleased that the injuries from those fires were minor. It seems like there was a lot of things that went well in a lot of those fires, which prevented injuries. And I would use the platform for just 1 second to say that the fires that were put out quickly and the things that were mitigated most effectively were done when they were coupled with smoke detectors. Some of the ones that are a little bit more significant did not have smoke detection in them. And I guess I would use this opportunity to just remind everybody, check those smoke detectors, make sure that they're working. They're very important safety pieces. One of the moving outside of the structure fire realm, we did have an interesting one. There was it did receive some media attention. There was a rail car coming through town, gave us the opportunity to try some different techniques out in that area and just kind of reacclimate ourselves to the hazards of having a rail coming through town. So that went out successfully. So kudos to all of our folks for their work there. And, you know, this is the time for me to kind of pause and go back to what the town manager said, which is we have some really awesome people working in this department, both in our investigations department and also in operations. They've had a lot of work and they've done a lot of great things over the last couple of months. So I really appreciate their efforts and the acknowledgement of this committee and the town manager for that. With that, we've put a lot of information out there as best we can. Many of these incidents are ongoing, push as much information as we can, but they are timely and complex, especially some of our larger ones. And we'll make sure to get information out to this council and our public as soon as it becomes available. Moving off of our structure fires and kind of staying consistent with our reporting of our EMS activity as well. While all these fires are occurring, we're actually having a pretty significant amount of our EMS activity as well. So just for some numbers for you, in the last couple of months, 11 cardiac arrests, 42 calls for people with chest pain, 8 strokes, 28 shortness of breaths, and 25 head injuries. So some pretty significant activity that's going on in our community in the EMS realm as well. We talked about Howard's event. Again, you know, had an opportunity to be closer with the family throughout that and being part of the Woket community and just kind of hearing how that went down. And I'm just pleased to be part of a community that does something like that in the face of, you know, such a tragedy. But, you know, really, we offer our thoughts and condolences to Howard's family and anybody really by our community who's affected by that. Coming up over the next month, very pleased. We had a very good amount of candidates for an assistant chief's position. We've narrowed that down. We're running an interview panel soon, so hopefully I'll be joined up here by a successor assistant chief in a few, you know, weeks or so, maybe a little bit longer probably, but we're moving along. And as I close out my report, I was privileged yesterday to be in Washington, D.C., talking to our federal delegation about ways that they can support our fire service here in Connecticut and in West Hartford. As you know, we've been very successful with some of our grants, especially for training. And what we've been doing is working all of the different angles that we can with our stakeholders in both state and federal government to try and see where we can offset the cost of these programs here in West Hartford. So for example, we were advocating for continued Fire Act and Safer Act grants, which we've also applied for, school programs, and also reducing the cost of fire apparatus, which is just something that I know the council faces with me, you know, in terms of the expensive nature of our apparatus. With that, you know, we'll continue to seek these grant opportunities before coming to you whenever possible. But I look forward to how those efforts play out, even if it's a long-term play, to make sure that our federal delegation knows what our needs are. With that, I always, you know, look at my report before and just always am amazed at the amount of activity that our CERT team does and what our OEM does. So never a moment to be lost telling them thanks as well for the amount of hours that they give to our community. So with that, I'll conclude my report. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have of me or my colleagues.
Thank you, Chief Priest. Any questions? No questions from the committee folk. Okay. All right. I think I have a couple of questions though for you, Chief Priest. And if it's too long-winded, we could talk offline. But 2 of the fire incidents, I don't want to say caught my eye, but I found interesting. One was the fire where I think the occupant jumped from the window, I believe. And I know that the team does the good work where after the fire, you kind of go out and talk to the community members and just sort of assess or evaluate so you can avoid something like that in the future. Can you speak a little bit about that without, I guess, divulging any private information?
Sure, Madam Chair. Thanks for the question. So I'll focus on the latter half first, and then so we're actually going to be out there today. We call it a post-incident neighborhood outreach. It's done in partnership with our fire marshal's office and our operations division. The primary goal of that is to go out, support the community, make sure that they feel like, you know, so fires are something that can happen, but we want them to feel like, A, we have a good response, remind them of the fire safety things out there, but just generally bring out a sense of support and help them through, you know, fire incidents are very traumatic. So we'll be out there doing that today. We do that within 24 to 48 hours generally of any fire. Most specifically in residential neighborhoods, that's our focus, where we put in smoke detectors. So we'll be out there with that. In terms of the actual specifics of the incident, certainly that's very public information. The individual did make the decision to escape the residence by coming out of a window. That was a decision, made based upon their ability to egress the house. It's awful. I mean, it's terrible, but that was the decision. I think I'm not able to talk about any of the patient care information, but obviously, I think that he should be fine. But we'll kind of leave it at that. As far as cause and origin, our fire marshal's office certainly has a lot on their plate right at the moment, and they'll be working on that soon. And if Chief Grimaldi, has anything that he wants to comment on that he's ready for, that's fine. If not, we'll catch back up with you.
Okay. And then the second question I have is on the train cargo fire. I found that to be unusual. And with something like that, how does that come into the town? Through the 911 call, and then the nearest station responds? Is it with other neighboring towns as well? Can you just speak a little to that as well?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. So first of all, good time to recognize our dispatchers and our ERC personnel. They're the first person to take the call. As far as the rail car, my information is that the Amtrak, actually the personnel on the car were able to determine that it was on fire. They made notification through their dispatch, which came into our dispatch. Depending on the location of it, more often than not, and the severity of the incident, we dispatch resources from in town first. And then we'll call mutual aid as necessary for that. That was a in-house or in-town call. We handled that with our resources. It was an unusual type of call. You don't see that very often. I believe it was construction material and debris that was involved in that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your report, and thank you for those responses. Now we will move over to Chief Riddick and his report for PD. So I'll turn it over to you, Chief Riddick.
Hi, good morning. Through you, Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to have Chief Rickabon just provide an update on a panel he participated on. He has to leave for another engagement, so I would, if it's your permission, I'd like to pass over to him at this time.
Sure.
All right, Chief Rickabon.
Through you, Madam Chair, good morning, everybody. I had the wonderful opportunity to attend a panel at Hall High School that was run by the United States Attorney's Office for Connecticut. The panel was labeled United Against Hate. And what it did is provided an opportunity for the United States Attorney, a couple of prosecutors, Connecticut State Police Hate Crimes Unit, our SRO, a school resource officer, Officer Sanford, and myself, to explain the process of reporting hate crimes and then the follow-up investigations. So that way our community knows when they do report a hate crime, what the process is going to be. I'm proud to announce, and West Hartford is usually the leader in most things, and we continue to do that we are the first high school to actually do this program. So over 700 students were able to witness this program and go through. We did in the Hall High School auditorium. The presentation was nothing less than first class. Questions afterwards by the students were insightful, and it allowed us, again, a wonderful opportunity to go and engage with our community and let the students and faculty know at Hall High School that they have the support and the love of the West Hartford Police Department when they do feel uncomfortable in situations, and that we have a lot of investigatory methods that are available to us to help them out. The biggest message that we gave to all the members of that community was we never want anything in our town to get to the level of a hate crime. That our biggest weapon that we have is prevention. prevention and education, that we have a lot of programs that are set up in the town. We have our community resource officers that actually provide a program in the 7th and 8th grade level about bias and bigotry, and we walk them through that. We have our anonymous tip line so that if people do feel uncomfortable, they can actually report it through an email or a private tip line. And then we have obviously our 2 school resource officers, both at Hall and Conard. So again, a wonderful opportunity for West Hartford Police Department, a great collaboration between all our law enforcement partners and on the criminal side as well. So thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity to give you that report on that presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Thanks, Chief Rico. If you could, for 2 more seconds, I believe it's the second one you participated in. Didn't you also do something, I believe, in Newington?
I was able to attend the first one that they ran at the synagogue in Newington, participated that with the Newington police chief. The synagogue in Newington actually has a number of members from our West Hartford community that attend there as well. So to be able to stand there next to the Newington chief and people understand that we work together when statements or concerns come our way, that we will work together to help them solve some of their issues or their concerns, again, was another outreach opportunity for the town of West Hartford. So
Thank you, AC Rickabon. I'll turn it back over to you, Chief, and then I'll reserve my comments for after your report.
All right, awesome. Through you, Madam Chair, again, Chief Rickabon has to leave. So if there's if you're okay with it, if there's any questions that anybody else might have at this time, because he has to leave in about 5 minutes.
Thank you. Does any of the members have any questions for AC Rickabon? Councilor McGinnis or Deputy Mayor Winograd? Okay, so I'll just say, AC Rickabon, thank you for participating and doing this. I'm really happy that we're being proactive and focusing on prevention so that we don't have to react. Hopefully we won't have to, but you never know. But I'm always of the mindset of staying prepared so we don't have to get prepared, and we do a very good job with doing that. So I know you have to go, so what I think I'll do is I'll touch base back with you and the chief just to learn some more information and have some further questions. But again, thank you for providing the information, and thank you for participating in both of those panels. I'll turn it back over to you, Chief Riddick.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your indulgence. I appreciate that. And I want to commend, as the Chief Priest has mentioned, we have a great relationship between the 2 agencies. But I will brag about my 2 assistant chiefs for 2 seconds. I can count on either one of them to either stand in my stead or just take the point. With this United Against Hate, the actual request came in for the chief. I had another obligation. As you know, I teach in the evenings, but they can't always hear from the chief. And there's times your assistant chiefs need to step up, take some of these programs for themselves and let people know that their succession plans are in place and everything else. And I know that if I'm not around, I have 2 very capable and intelligent assistant chiefs who can lead, take the point, and I don't have to do much of anything. I was actually there sitting in the audience, and so I appreciate that. And Assistant Chief Tara, I have sat on several of his presentations. There's things that he does outside of this agency, and I'm just blessed, and I'm very, very appreciative about the team that I have around me, because we all know I'm not that smart. All right, going forward, hiring and retention, we're down to 7 vacancies. As you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we were up to 10. So we're doing really good there. We got a few people in the hopper. There is the next academy is coming up in the Waterbury Police Academy in June. And we're hoping, if we can get the good Lord will bless us for a good batch. Maybe we have 4 to 5 candidates to go to that academy. Again, positive thinking. We're speaking that into existence, and that'll be very, very helpful for us. Pistol permits in April of 2023, we had 15. In April of this year, 38. And the breakdown for this year was 27 men, 11 women. In April of 2023, we had 199 motor vehicle accidents. In April of this year, we had 162. April of last year, 1,054 motor vehicle stops. In April of this year, 1,222. So at our current pace, we should be exceeding at the end of the year our stops from last year. So really good work by our officers and our traffic unit. Briefly, our community support unit that's out there that engage with a lot of regional stuff and our quality of life issues in town. They had 14 arrests in the month of April, and 9 of those were felonies and 5 were misdemeanors. One of their motor vehicle stops led to an arrest of an individual possession of crack cocaine and fentanyl. Our community support unit, along with the violent crime task force and the Hartford Police Department personnel, did investigate over 180 regional car breaks, and through information garnered through using CIs and everybody else, we were able to identify a suspect and make an arrest. So that was a group effort within the region. CFU again on a proactive patrol, and they had a suspect from wanted for home invasion and robbery first, with numerous felony. So it's a good arrest there. Our patrol division, there was a stolen Infiniti out of Hartford for a shots fired incident. That vehicle was spotted in West Hartford. Our officers were safely able to deploy stop sticks and were able to apprehend all of the occupants. The Hartford Police Department took over and processed the vehicle, and their violent crime unit arrested two individuals. So good work, again, good regional work in cooperation by our agencies. Another time we had a reported stolen motor vehicle out of New York, and we recovered that vehicle and made an arrest. And then lastly, we assisted New Britain Police Department with our canine, and it helped get a large yield of narcotics. So a lot of good work that's been done by our personnel. There's always a risk involved, as we saw in Charlotte. So our hearts and prayers are with our personnel each and every day. But as you mentioned, Madam Chair, we did sign up for this. At the end of the day, we don't sign up to die, but we do understand the risk is there. During our staff meeting yesterday, we went over our SOPs, our training, our safety protocol, just to remind people never to be complacent. And we know complacency can seek in at any time, but you just don't know. You don't know what the intentions are of people on that other side of that door or in that situation. Clearly in Charlotte, that individual's mind was made up in advance that that was their last day on earth. They made up their mind that that was their last day on earth, and they did not care who else they were going to take with them. And their mind was made up that they were going to have visitors along the way. So thank you for that, and we'll continue to go forward, and I'll entertain any questions at this time.
Thank you, Chief Riddick, for your report. Are there any questions? Councilor Cortez, Councilor McGinnis, Deputy Mayor Winnick, Councilor Cortez, and then Deputy Mayor.
To you, Madam Chair. So it's been, I think, a year now since we had the flock camera, and I just want to, there's always like an article on weha.com, and even some of the reports from you guys that it works, right? That, we solve crimes due to these, strategic placement of these cameras around town. And, you hope that kind of the word gets around with, these bad actors coming in that, like we're on it. So I appreciate the work that goes behind that. So I'll bring it into something that I always, that I mention quite often here is with the ATVs. Have that been a helpful tool with all these with the ATVs coming into town, especially with the warmer weather? I know that there's other stuff in place that we've had with other towns, partnerships with other towns, but have the flock camera assisted with that?
Yes and no. A lot of times with the ATVs, they understand they're not registered and they're mostly illegal, so we can trace them and follow them. In addition, we have our drone cameras. They can assist with us. And I don't want to say a certain word that the town manager knows that I have banned, but we've been pretty good so far with that. But we do have plans in place. It's an investigative tool for us, and we're not pursuing, but we do get information, and if people give us information on the drivers, locations, and meetup spots through our intelligence gathering, through our great partnership with the Hartford Police Department and their regional assets and teams, we can scoop people up after the fact, and as always, the safest way to do it. In addition, we also, if we catch them on camera and we have our soft cars out there, if they pull into a gas station or something, we can just come in really quick, box them in, and then take them into custody. So that's the safest and most prudent way to do things currently.
Thank you for that, Chief. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Cortez. Deputy Mayor Winograd.
Thank you. And actually, it's a good follow-up from Councilor Cortez. I've been noticing more of the license plate blockers on cars. I know that's been a problem in cities that have more robust cameras. I know in New York they talk about it a lot. You can't ticket them. They don't, or pay fine. They don't have to. They don't get picked up by toll plazas because they're covering up their plate. What policy do we have regarding those when they're spotted? Is there anything by ordinance or statute we can do when people use those blockers?
Yeah, so it's not a policy. It'll be a statute violation, and I don't know that statute at the top of my head. So it'll be an infraction just like anything else. You pull over and conduct a motor vehicle stop and issue an infraction for the violation.
Okay, and is there through you, Madam Chairperson, is there? I mean, has it become a problem around the region? I mean, is there any concern over?
I have not heard in our regional chiefs meeting. This has not been a topic that's come up like a widespread problem. If anything, the issue is not intentionally people blocking it. It's just people have vanity plates where they have the shaded covers over the license plate. So it's not even a matter of that. And we haven't had a significant issue that I'm aware of our cameras been unable to pick up the plates. And the other part is, again, I don't want to get too caught up and locked into this. There are many times the plates aren't registered. There's many times the plates don't belong in the vehicle anyways. So the important thing is the vehicle description and last known area of travel, direction of travel. And then, we punch our information in. And because we're tied in with Hartford, they might could track the individual in the car that way, and then we can work together to coordinate our efforts. So that's important. So yeah, it's an issue. I don't think it's significant, but we have to remember that many times plates aren't registered anyways.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Winograd. Chief Riddick, not so much a question, but perhaps a comment in terms of the community support unit. Thank you in terms of the good work that they're doing, because it seems like whenever you bring these reports to the monthly meetings, that they just continue to make a huge number of arrests, and those arrests yield something illegal in the car, whether it's narcotics, whether it's guns, whether it's something else. They have an outstanding warrant. And I bring this up because I know during budget season, there was quite a few questions that came before the council in terms of why do we need so many of this and why do we need so many of that? And I just think it's important to see and to learn the way how the PD operates. And again, when you are making these arrests, when you're preventing larger crimes from happening, that's why it's important that you have the resources that you have and you have the training that you provide, and you also have the personnel and the team that's able to perform this work. So I just really want to recognize that particular unit as well as the entire team, because again, it interfaces and we connect and also work with the other regional support personnel from your other PDs and also all the organizations that you're part of, as well as the assistant chiefs and your leadership. So I just sing your praises, because many of us don't know what goes on behind the scene when we're sleeping or we're working or what have you, when your men and your women are out there doing the preventative work to keep our town and our district safe. So thank you for what you all do. And I know it's a team effort, so I want to recognize the entire PD.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for that. They do a tremendous amount of work. The past 6 years, we've reestablished and established excellent partnerships and relationships. You guys know my history, the PD that I came from before. You need units like that. I know some people might not like them and everything else. To me, it's not a want. It's an absolute necessity for a town that we have in the environment that we are situated in. There's a lot that goes on. Our town is safe. But again, as you've heard me say before, things happen from time to time. And you have these units working out there with their federal task force, where we're working with the state task force, and then the Hartford Regional Task Force working together to root out these things. So thank you for that acknowledgement. They do great work, and they do it tactically safe, and they respect people's rights. Oh my gosh, I think I may have in 6 years, maybe one complaint, maybe. So that says a lot. They do it right. And they're doing very dangerous people out there. So thank you for that acknowledgement. And I greatly appreciate their efforts and your acknowledgement. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. Our next agenda item is, do we have any future agenda items that we would like to place on our agenda for the June meeting? Wow, we're just moving through this year very quickly. It's May already, right? All right, I don't see any, so we will move to adjournment. Deputy Mayor Winograd. Nope, okay, cool. All right, so I'll give you back a bunch of time for your morning. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this morning's meeting, and have a wonderful day. Stay safe, watch each other's back. Take care.